This is one of the few races where both candidates share the same views on a number of issues. Democrat Michael Garrett, the incumbent, and Republican Richard Sessoms, the challenger, both oppose banning abortion in North Carolina. What do you want to do about abortion in North Carolina?
I've heard talk. I've heard talk with Senator Burt, with some of the senators and some of the party politicians that they want to make it more restrictive for women, and I don't agree with that. I think the current law in the books right now is sufficient.
I can't really see an instance of me voting for an abortion ban. It runs counter to how I think about the issue and what I believe.
Is there a point in which you think that you would be comfortable in supporting some kind of a change in North Carolina's law on abortion?
You know, I as a small business owner and not a doctor and not a healthcare provider of any sort, healthcare consumer but not provider, and a man, not a woman, feel very uncomfortable trying to tell anyone what they should or shouldn't do with their body.
The two men also share similar views on medical marijuana.
The state has a huge opioid and prescription drug problem right now, and we need to, a good way to fix that is to allow medical marijuana to, for the people to get the treatment they need in regards to pain.
I voted for the medical marijuana bill. I didn't think it went far enough. You know, it left out a lot of chronic diseases that people could really benefit from.
Do you support legalizing marijuana for recreational use?
I do. I say that with an asterisk because how we design the infrastructure as far as what does the sales channel look like.
How many years ago do you think you would not have been able to say that?
You probably couldn't have said that 3 years ago. I mean, it's really interesting when you think about politics and a lot of these larger, very divisive issues, how far the public comes in such a short period of time.
So you support medical marijuana. Do you support legalizing marijuana?
Not as of this time. Maybe in a few years.
Where do you stand? Do you support the idea of legalized sports betting in the state?
I have no issue with that. If that's what people want to do, then they should be able to do it. The problem is, you know, there should be a limit in regards to gambling, online gambling, for people that are, you know, addicted to that.
So you guys are probably going to pick up betting again, sports betting, and I'm wondering where do you stand on that?
You know, I think it's already going on.
You think?
Okay, I know it's already going on. I did support it, and assuming that it's not radically different than what I voted on in this last session, I would support it again.
The two candidates also agree that Medicaid needs to be expanded in the state. But the two men are not coming together for a kumbaya moment on everything. One of your tweets, very recent, you called your opponent a political hack.
Yes.
What does that mean?
He is a political hack. Like I said, he is a straight line party politician. And whatever his party says, whatever the leadership of his party says, he does, or he votes for.
He called you a political hack. Have you seen that? And if not, what is your response to it?
Oh, I haven't seen it, and I get called quite a few things. I mean, people don't like politicians by nature. I don't really focus on, you know, the partisan bickering and battles because you don't get things done that way.
This district favors the Democrats. Mr. Garrett, 2 years ago in the presidential election, Democrats outvoted Republicans for the president by 15 points. Bill O'Neill, WXII 12 News.